morning, college football fans. Well, and high school football fans, because, well, kickoff was last night, and it did not disappoint. What's going on, y'all? Welcome to 3 and Out College Edition right here on IE Sports Radio, your directory for all that is sports. As always, I am joined here by my boy, the one and only IE Sports Radio Hall of Famer, and the guy that does so many things here at IE Sports Radio that I just don't have the list anymore because, well, frankly, it's too long. Ladies and gentlemen, Teran Rodriguez, what's going on, brother? How you doing today, man?
Hey, Larry. Great to be on here. Ready to talk some college football and a little high school football.
Oh, yeah. High school was great last night. We got colleagues today. We are previewing the FCS and the FBS. Man, we are 1 week away from college football action. Sounds like fun, doesn't it?
Yes, sir. I'm excited. Last Saturday of no college football. Sorry.
No, you are good, man. We're going to have ourselves a ball today because, well, that's the only thing we can do on a Saturday morning. So close to kickoff. Here it comes, man. One special Saturday. It's next weekend. And guess what? We're going to be there for the ride. Here we go, y'all. The final preview edition of this show before it gets real next week. And a little bit of fun with high school. Oh, it's going to be a good one. You are now tuned in live to 3 and Out College Edition right here on IE Sports Radio. Your directory for all that is sports. What's going on, college football fans? Man, it has just been great these last couple of weeks, and I am super excited because, well, we're getting closer every single preview. And Teran, we're almost there, brother. We are almost there. High school football returned. I mean, kind of crazy. It returned as early as last weekend. Didn't even realize that. We were so caught up last week in the NAIA and D2 and D3, but a few high school games took place. Regardless, the big kickoff was pretty much this week, Thursday and Friday. That is now in the rear view, and man, there were some games. But first things first, how about this, man? I mean, we're on the brink, man. This is it. This is like it's like Christmas Eve. You know what I mean? Except for it's a week. But I mean, it's crazy, man. Like, we get all this excitement coming in. We are today, of course, the big topic is going to be, after a high school football discussion, is going to be the FCS and the FBS. You know, Teran, I mean, we both talked about our disgust in the Pac-12, falling apart. And, I mean, this is coming up as the last season, basically. I mean, we have so much to get into with these big conferences, the Power 5, soon to be Power 4. How is all this feeling right now to you, man?
It's feeling amazing. I mean, it feels like the season hasn't been around since, probably last calendar year for that matter. But now we're getting so close to having that amazing college football action, and we're getting a little bit of a sneak preview when it comes to high school football, as we're getting the future of college football.
Yeah, we really are, Darren. And I mean, let's just go ahead and start there. Last night, actually, real quick, big ups to our sponsor, Planet Jerky. Delicious premium all brisket jerky. Oh, yeah. If you haven't tasted this stuff yet, y'all, you kind of need to. PlanetJerky.net. Probably some of the best jerky you will ever sink your teeth into. My goodness, I love this stuff. Teran has now tried it. Lots of people around IE Sports Radio has now tried it. Do yourself a favor, pick you up a bag, the official jerky of IE Sports Radio, Planet Jerky, of course, planetjerky.net. Head on over, grab you a few bags, show some love to our sponsor, and enjoy. Because I'll tell you, enjoying some Planet Jerky while listening to IE Sports Radio, well, those are just two flavors that go hand in hand. So, with that said, y'all, big ups to Planet Jerky. And, of course, big ups to the rest of the entire IE Sports Radio family. What's going on, y'all? We appreciate y'all so much. Shows for everyone here at IE Sports Radio. We got something for everyone. Enjoy, show us love as we get ready to roll into this football season. So, all right, Teran. Well, here we go, man. Let's get to it. Last night, well, really Thursday too, but football began. And oh, it was a goodie. It was something, man. Really something to see. So, first things first, you were at a game last night. Pretty cool.
Yes. I covered Huntington Beach and Mayfair.
Which is pretty cool. Teran, a native of Huntington Beach, California. About a good, 45, well, actually, about an hour with traffic away from me in the Inland Empire. And, yeah, Teran, how was that game last night? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, and I it's kind of one of those mini rivalries. They've been playing one another since I think 2004. Give or take in terms of like on and off scheduling. Huntington Beach did start a highly anticipated freshman at quarterback in Brady Edmonds, and he was solid. He has offers from like Arizona State and a few other Division I schools. He threw for 3 touchdowns, and he was shaky in the first half, but that was probably because of like pregame jitters, because he's only like 15 years old, and you're asking a lot of a 15-year-old making his not only his first ever start, but his first ever start in a high school game, playing in his first high school game entirely to basically will the team to a win. And he basically had a lot of help due to his run game. He also had his receivers eventually get online with him. In the first half, there were balls that he kind of overthrew or his receivers unfortunately could not catch. Not entirely their fault, but I just think they were maybe a little bit too hot to handle. But all in all, Huntington Beach was able to rally and get the win, which I was impressed that Huntington Beach was able to ride the coattails of their defense, especially in the second half, only holding Mayfair to 7 points. And Mayfair is a good program. Like, they have a good team. And I think it's probably one of the more underappreciated programs in California, just because it gets overshadowed, especially in that 562 area, in that Lakewood, Long Beach area. So I think it's a solid start for Huntington Beach, as they've got Trabuco Hills next week. And all in all, I enjoyed covering this game. And soon there will be a recap to go up. I just needed to sort out the highlights to send off, and now I'll be doing a recap, and then hopefully that'll get posted soon.
Well, that is awesome, Teran. Glad you enjoyed that game. Big ups to our boy Adam Karnick in the chat room, the host of our Chicago show, Chi-Town Weekly. And yeah, man, I mean, awesome stuff there, and I'm glad you were able to check that game out. Teran, last night there was a game in California that, you can only say was probably the best game in the nation yesterday. And, well, it was quite the football game. Not necessarily the closest, but it was still a good game, apparently. So, Teran, last night, the number 1 modern-day Monarchs cruised on over to my neck of the woods. They left Orange County, cruised on over to the Inland Empire, and took on the Football Factory, number 15, Corona Centennial. Last night, it seemed to be a good game. Kind of. But it was the kind of good game where Mater Dei was in control the entire time. Mater Dei went up 14-0, and they never looked back. Led at 14-0 at the half, added one more in the third quarter, and, well, one more in the fourth. However, Centennial would fight back, scoring 14 of their own in the fourth quarter. Regardless, Teran, it wasn't enough. Mater Dei looking good, looking strong. This new era under this new coach, well, started off with a 28-14 victory over a very good football team yesterday. Teran, how about this game?
So it was a business as usual approach for Mater Dei. Obviously, starting the Frank McManus era out with a win. But as their head coach has said, he hasn't had to change much when it comes to modern day. He knows the program already, and he's kind of built it with Bruce Rawlinson, so he hasn't had to change much. But as for that game, Modern Day pretty much had that game from the get go. And even when Corona Centennial did have momentum, Modern Day just had to just control the clock and just make sure Centennial just could not have their way. And I'll give Corona Centennial this. They didn't get blown out and they didn't get like decimated and whatnot. And they gave quite the fight to Modern Day just because I think in years past, this would have probably been a whole lot worse than it needed to be. But I feel Centennial is going to be just as good because you remember last year that Centennial had a disappointing end to the season, losing in the quarterfinals to Mission Viejo in the CIF Southern Section Division One playoffs, which I don't think anybody would have predicted. And Centennial was the 3 seed, while Mission Viejo being the 2 seed, which was a major surprise. But all in all, for Centennial, I think this is kind of a redemption slash comeback year for the Huskies. And believe it or not, in all the years that I think Matt Logan, the name is Matt Logan, as their head coaches,
Yes.
this is going to be the first year that Centennial goes out of state, and they'll be playing a team from Utah. So that's going to be something to watch for going forward. So I look forward to seeing what Corona Centennial can do, and I think they're deserving of their high ranking. Same with Modern Day. Yeah.
Yeah, Teran, this football team, man, modern day. I mean, golly, we know what they're capable of. We know what they're doing. We know how good the strength of this team is. McManus, I mean, beautifully said. You don't got to do much, man. You don't got to move things around too much here. It's just kind of happened there, which is awesome. So, yeah, Corona Centennial was true. I actually heading on over to play Bishop Gorman coming up in September, which is awesome. But I'll tell you, man. Speaking of Bishop Gorman, well, the number 2 team in the nation also got down last night, and it was, in fact, well, Bishop Gorman. Last night, this team, of course, just a very, very, very good football team. These guys last night would take on Corner, I believe, Corner Canyon out of Utah. Teran, is this something to be concerned about? I mean, look, as a defensive guy, you're the number 2 team in the nation. You know, you're looking for a great season. You know, you're right there. You're starting right there. Modern Day slips up even remotely. St. John Bosco slips up even remotely. I mean, this could be yours, Bishop Gorman. Regardless, they scored 63 last night. Bishop Gorman hung 63 on Corner Canyon of Utah, but they give up 42. That just doesn't sit so good with me, but I get it. First game of the season, working out the kinks, but it's just kind of rough. What do you think about this game, Teran?
Yeah, it is rather interesting to see Bishop Gorman giving up 42. I mean, luckily they have the offense to basically keep up with everybody and, well, not keep up with everybody, but to basically build the wall and make sure that nobody's able to overcome them. However, yeah, 42 points is a little concerning. So something to keep an eye out for Gorman. So hopefully they're not going to face an opponent of their level and they don't give up that many points, because if they do, then it might be just as worse. So all in all, for Gorman, it is a win, but I hope that coach does give their team an earful, just because 42 points, that's quite a bit. That's 6 touchdowns, if my math serves me correctly, and it is.
It's just that got me. I was like, man, what a good game. You know, thinking about, I saw 63 on them, but man, yeah, you give up 42. I guess it just doesn't. It's not right. It's like, okay, we need to fix this. So once again, first game of the season. Not going to be too hard on these kids. They looked extremely solid. My gosh, I mean, they hung 63, you know, but like I said, the defense need to get some things going. Regardless, good game there. Bishop Gorman looking pretty damn strong coming out of the gates, man. But good game for these guys. Number 2, Bishop Gorman last night, defeating unranked Corner Canyon, so out of Utah. So next up, Darren, we had a couple, like I said, that were from last week and everything too that we didn't catch, but I think, the elephant in the room, let's address it. Upset complete, man. We talked about Buford before out of Georgia. We talked about them, man. We talked about these guys. We know how good they really are. Well, this program, man, continues to impress. Number 10 Buford last night would host the St. Francis Academy. And we all know a thing or two about the St. Francis Academy. A really solid football program, related, so not related, but similar to the IMG Academy. Well, Teran, last night they were on the ropes all night, and they never got off. Number 10, Buford, would upset number 6, St. Francis Academy. Buford out of Georgia, that is, will upset number 6, St. Francis Academy out of Maryland, 18-0, Teran. 0. They didn't get anything. They didn't get a field goal. They didn't get nothing. Teran, are you more impressed with the fact that St. Francis Academy couldn't do anything? Or are you more impressed with the fact that Buford actually shut out the number 6 team in the country to start off the season? How about that?
Yeah, in all honesty, I was very surprised to see St. Francis getting shut out. It's the one thing to lose, but to get shut out is just mind-boggling. But I guess Buford is really good. So all in all for this matchup, it lived up to the hype to a T, but Buford really showed why they're top 10. So I don't know what to say for St. Francis. Maybe they just ran into a buzzsaw, or it was just one of those nights, or it was just one of those any given Friday games. So all in all, you just got to flush it down the toilet and just move on sometimes. But I will just also say Buford is the real deal, and they're putting Georgia on the map.
They are, man. And once again, big shout out to this guy, man. The Buford Wolves out of Buford, Georgia, just playing extremely good football yesterday. Good for these guys, man. I mean, just what a way to start off the year. They welcome in one of the toughest football programs in the country, and then they sent them home with a loss, man, a shutout. So what a way to go for these guys. All right, so on top of that, let's take a look at some of the other games real quick from the top 25 last night in national rankings. St. John Bosco, another team that put up a pretty good amount of points. However, they gave up 22 of their own as number 3 St. John Bosco would defeat Liberty, unranked Liberty, 42-22 last night at home. Once again, working out the kinks, but just hey, we're not used to seeing St. John Bosco give up too many points, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, I'm not overly concerned with Bosco. I think Bosco's going to learn from this, and it's kind of their first game as well. Yeah, they did lose quite a bit in terms of their graduation, and they do have a little bit of I wouldn't say quarterback controversy, but quarterback questions that they need to answer. But all in all, I think this is nothing to be concerned about in terms of them only winning by 20. I think many people expect them to win by like 35 or more and have that running clock happening. But I think this is kind of good that Bosco is getting competition just so they're not like getting complacent for when they do get that ultimate showdown against Mater Dei and whatnot. So all in all, I think Bosco is real. I think Bosco is definitely going to be a team to watch for, and they're definitely also worthy of being ranked high. So, and remember, they're the reigning national champs, so you just can't underestimate them.
For sure, and that's exactly why. They are the reigning national champions. So I mean, it's once again, hey, I get it. You can't look at one game and say, oh my gosh, they're horrible, or whatever. But it's just once again, defending national champions. But hey, it's all good. Speaking of another team who played pretty damn good last night, the IMG Academy, as we know, would knock off the Lipscomb Academy Mustangs out of Nashville, Tennessee on the road, 35-10. Let's just say I think the IMG Academy delivered, and this is pretty much what we would think this score would be, right? I mean, really, really, really solid program, and they start the season off with a really good victory.
Yeah, in my opinion, this was business as usual for IMG Academy. I'm not trying to say that I'm ultimately surprised, but yeah, this is IMG Academy we're talking about here. They're always going to have a good program, and they always bring in like some of the top recruits and top players to their program just because they're just that good, and they just have a good brand and whatnot. So, and they're also an independent. They don't play in a league, so that's something you also got to watch for too.
Well, absolutely. Take a look at St. Francis Academy and some of these schools, but these independents. But yeah, man, just once again, overall, amazing job. IMG Academy out of Florida getting it done last night, getting a big victory over a Tennessee school. So good job to them. And then, of course, there's a team. Well, we didn't really see this. It's kind of crazy. This was just kind of random, I guess. But this was last week. And it did happen on the 19th on Saturday. But number 14, Langston Hughes out of Georgia would... these are so close. I don't know. I guess you can call it an upset because the higher ranked team did lose. Regardless, number 14, Langston Hughes out of Georgia would defeat number 12, Carrollton out of Georgia, 39-34. That's a good little scrap right there, Teran. Really good job to Langston Hughes for getting a nice little victory there. Just a 5-point game last Saturday. These Georgia schools, man, they're really moving up. And actually, Adam Karnick in the chat room says IMG about to be forced to join the Big Ten. Oh my gosh, you imagine that? Yeah, man. Good old Big Ten, man. But yeah, so there we go. We got a little bit of the high school spotlight there going on, and got the top 25 teams there out of the way. Next week we have so many more top 25 teams to cover in high school football. Lots more stats and players for you guys and everything too, for sure. Just a little bit of an off week. Our apologies, but yeah, man. So let's go ahead and take ourselves a quick break, and when we come back, it's about time to get into our FCS and FBS previews for the year, and let's see what we think, y'all. So, you were listening to 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Talking FCS and FBS previews after this.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. They are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio. your direct feed for all that is sports.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Here we go, y'all. A little bit of a high school spotlight there, and we're rolling right on in to college. So, Adam Karnick says, who officially ranks high school football programs nationally? Well, good sir, that would be Max Preps. They've been doing it for years now. Super cool website. If you ever want to see anything high school, maxpreps.com. We get all of our stuff from there. I mean, just a super, super cool website. And gives you a lot of stuff, not always full stats and not always everything. Some of this you got to pay for if you want memberships and everything like that. But however, it's really cool website, really cool to see some of the, the scores and everything and keep up with some of the rankings there. So yeah, really, really, really cool stuff. Big ups to maxpreps.com. So, all right, Teran, we have now ran on over into our college segment. And well, Teran, this is it, man. This is it. We get, as the NFL preseason rolls on into week 2, well, college football is getting they're crossing the T's, they're dotting the I's, they're getting some scrimmages going, man. And the FBS gets underway next Saturday. I mean, this is going to be it, man. College football kickoff officially. And then, of course, the FCS, something that not too many folks are into, which I don't know how, because it's really, really, really good football. Regardless, though, AA football is awesome, and there is certainly so many great teams to follow. Teran, you've actually covered lots of them over on SoCal, the SoCal Spring Sports Show. You take a look at San Luis Obispo. You'll be talking USD, pretty cool. I mean, you bring in some of these schools, man, and it's pretty cool. So next week, of course, starting things off, Saturday, August 26th, we do have North Alabama taking on Mercer. We have Fordham taking on University of Albany. And South Carolina State, hey, there we go, taking on Jackson State in the Cricket, MEAC, and SWAC Challenge kickoff. So really cool there. And, well, there we have it, you guys. Really, really, really good, some cool games getting kick off right there next week, so be excited for those coming on up. But yeah, man, so really quick, Teran, last year, just Teran, I just Teran's sick of hearing me say this now. I know he has to be, because I'm sick of saying it. But there's just some schools that need to just get the hell out of the conference, or get out of the, that certain division and go somewhere else. Good morning to Jen B in the chat room. Of course, the host of the show of the land here on IU Sports Radio, covering all things Cleveland sports. But Teran, there's just schools that just irritate me beyond belief. We talked about Mount Union last week in Division III. A school that I just feel needs to stop it already and go to Division II or something, because, they're destroying everybody in the lower level. We have that. In Division II, there's not really anybody, but in Division I, AA, there's a school by the name of North Dakota State, and this is where I was like, okay, freaking, since geography doesn't matter anymore, join the Pac-12. I mean, my gosh. I mean, seriously, help. I mean, you know what I mean? North Dakota State is over here freaking playing Arizona, okay, in their regular season schedule, and they lost by a field goal. I'm just saying, come on, y'all. You can hang at the Division I single A level, okay? You may not be able to win national championship right off the bat, but you can hang. So, can we make the jump already? Because it's really frustrating that they just continue to eat everyone alive in the AA realm, man. It's kind of frustrating. So, anyway, starting things off in the FCS. North Dakota State, once again, the elephant in the room, a team that knows winning all too well. Also, South Dakota State, the team that played North Dakota State in the national championship. Why did I start out with North Dakota State first? Well, because North Dakota State has been in and around that championship a little bit more than their rivals, South Dakota State. Now, last year, South Dakota State would get the monkey off their back, man. They would actually defeat North Dakota State 45-21 in the national championship, in the FCS national championship. And that was their first ever national championship in program history. Pretty cool. Finally. And they did it over their rivals who usually beat them in the semifinals. Usually they meet up somewhere around the semifinals, maybe quarters sometimes. But I think South Dakota State is right where they should be. They're moving on up. They're doing well. But Teran, some schools like North Dakota State just need to freaking call it already and move up to the big boys, man. But regardless, that's it. That's who we're looking at. We know that North Dakota State and South Dakota State are going to be major competitors this year. We know that both of these schools are, without a doubt, without a single doubt, going to be somewhere near the top. All right, they're going to make it happen. They're going to win lots and lots of football games. And it's like, once again, can we stop it? Can somebody move up here and give somebody else a chance? So that was last year's championship. The Final Four, of course, included South Dakota State. Montana State was there last year. They get blown out by North Dakota State. And then a team that is incredible. This team was just, they shocked us all. University of Incarnate Word. I heard from one of my buddies one time, they were a D3 team at one time. So, they moved up. But they would fall short to North Dakota State 35-34 last year, in that Final Four. So I have every reason to believe that these teams will be back around the national championship or somewhere around the Final Four. But Teran, talk to us, man. FCS football, who are you excited for this year? What do you think? Is it going to be the same old, same old? I think I know your answer. But what do you think, man, for FCS coming up this season?
So for the 2023 preseason FCS coaches poll, it basically has South Dakota State and North Dakota State ranked number 1 and number 2. It's so crazy because South Dakota State got 24 out of the 25 first place votes. And I'm guessing that 25th first place vote probably was from South Dakota State, where they could not vote for themselves. So that other first place vote went to North Dakota State. And the coach probably just said, heck with it. Just give it to North Dakota State because they're probably the second best team in the FCS. So I totally agree with you in regards to moving them into the FBS and not keeping them in the FCS. And maybe they can join the Pac-12 or just play independent. And then who knows, maybe all the independents can go into the Pac-12 and whatnot. But other teams that I'm looking forward to when it comes to seeing the FCS are, I want to see who else can take the next best step, like Montana State, like who can make the semifinals. I also want to see if Idaho can actually be pretty good, maybe UC Davis, maybe Delaware, North Dakota, even though they're in this, I want to say they're in the same division as South Dakota State and North Dakota State. William and Mary, which is number 4. Holy Cross had himself a good season. You mentioned Incarnate Ward, which had themselves a great year last year. I want to see if they can get back to the big stage. And the list goes on and on. Maybe Sacramento State if they play their cards right. But time will tell.
Without a doubt, Teran, there is a lot of great talent in these lower schools. And you know what? I just want to see more fluctuation. I think we're all sick and tired of seeing the Bison taking on the Jackrabbits, somewhere around there. And once again, let those guys jump up and start making their, maybe South Dakota State in a few years, but North Dakota State, you're freaking ready, so go. You've been ready for years. So this team won, I think, in 10 or 11 years of national championships, they won 9 or 10 titles. It's incredible what this team has done, especially in the last decade. So, yeah, you kind of need to make that happen. So, okay. So, yeah, Teran, I look at these schools and say, yeah, Incarnate Word I do believe is going to be somewhere back up there. I'd love to see this team get back in that mix, just to know their history and just awesome, awesome team. Montana State, I mean, we're used to seeing the Grizzlies, man. Montana actually be up here in the last decade or so. But yeah, it's Montana State, the Bobcats. Let's go. Let's see if this team can make it happen. William and Mary last year out of Virginia, man. They made their presence felt. I mean, just really, really, really cool schools here. And Sac State, of course, a team that we didn't really see coming last year, Teran. We didn't see Sacramento State coming, and this team just snuck their way in, man. They looked really good. And, just once again, really, really, really good football here in the FCS. And we're hoping that we see tons of it. So, interestingly enough, we talk about teams that move around. Teran, I mean, I don't know if you know this. I mean, I'm pretty sure you do. But the Idaho Vandals. I mean, isn't it crazy to think, Teran, that Idaho, within the last, I think like 10 years ago, they were an FBS school. They were actually an FBS program. And they played, I don't know if they were on the WAC, or I forgot where this team was. But Idaho was actually an FBS school. And I don't know what happened, but they just couldn't hang. And they wanted to drop, and they did. And good for them, because the Idaho Vandals, well, they're actually competitive. They got to the first round last year. They fell to southeastern Louisiana, but it was only a 3-point game, 45-42, and Idaho had a pretty good year. I mean, Teran, we gotta put teams where teams should be going, and yeah, I really think that the Vandals did perfect what they need to do. They dropped one, and now they're more competitive. So some of these schools do need to drop. I do believe, to be more competitive. But at that time, some of these schools need to move up too. So anyway, all right, Teran. So let's go ahead and address the big one, man. This is the FBS. All right. So as we know, the Pac-12 is completely in shambles. We don't know if it's going to be salvaged. It is what it is, right? We don't know. It's unfortunate. It's terrible. Greed, stupidity from the complete stupidity from the commissioners and everything from the Pac-12. Just really dumb. Should have taken San Diego State when he had the chance. Just really stupid. But anyway, Teran, I've heard a few dumb of the weeks from you already, brother. So I know a thing or two about how you feel about this whole thing, man. But next week, man, we're getting going, and here we go. Well, looking at the Power 5, let's just, for old time's sake, Teran, because the Pac-12 is not going to exist next year, apparently, unless they do all kinds of crap to get all kinds of new teams in there. But, Teran, the Pac-12, what are you thinking right now? USC, everyone's jumping ship, but it started off with USC and UCLA jumping ship and going on over to the Big Ten. What do you think, Teran? Who you got this year? I mean, do you think USC's actually going to pull this off? You have an extremely good. There's a lot of freaking good quarterbacks in this conference right now. But you got Washington, who's pretty solid right now. Arizona can be actually pretty good right now. Oregon. I mean, we have a pretty good Pac-12 lineup this year. Lots of talent. I mean, what do you think? Who do you got winning this thing? Of course, I'm going to be biased and say SC, but that's just me. It's hard to not pick SC. But what do you think, Teran? Pac-12 this year.
So here's my thing. My 5 questions are, can USC actually put it all together and win the Pac-12 for the last time before they depart for the Big Ten? Another question is Cam Rising about to lose his starting quarterback job? Basically, I've been hearing that he could be on the verge of getting benched for another quarterback on the team, which honestly, I wouldn't be ultimately surprised if that happened, but it could happen. I mean, Kyle Whittingham says he's more than happy with Cam Rising leading Utah. Said that 6 days ago. And Cam Rising, according to JWP Sports or ESPN, it is top 10. The third question is, can Washington really live up to the hype? Now, Washington is good with Michael Penix Jr., but who's he going to throw to? Like, I know Washington has some good receivers and whatnot, but will the spotlight be too much for them? And will they be able to hang with the true big boys? And then my another couple questions are: can UCLA get back to relevancy or continue their relevancy under Chip Kelly despite DTR moving on? I think they can. I don't know who they're going to start at quarterback, whether it's Chase Young or whether it's Ethan Garbers, but I imagine they might go with Garbers. I would be flabbergasted if they started a freshman at quarterback. So there's that right there. And then lastly, can Oregon State actually make noise with DJ Uiagalelei? Now, DJ Uiagalelei wasn't really the greatest at Clemson, but I think he just needs a new change of scenery. I think now that he's no longer having to fulfill being the successor for Trevor Lawrence, he now has a new start to his whole college football career. And now I think he'll be able to lead his own team. But that doesn't mean he's off the hook. He has to also watch out for his job, because another quarterback to watch for is Aiden Childs, a freshman quarterback. I'm not saying he's going to swoop in and take that job, but he could challenge Uiagalelei for that job, just like one of the other quarterbacks for Utah is challenging Cam Rising. But for me, I think DJ Uiagalelei can really turn Oregon State around. I mean, they did so last year despite not having the greatest quarterback, and I think they could do so this year. It's just all about them having a great defense, and I think they have one of the best linebackers in the conference.
Very well done, Teran. No, completely agree. Kind of funny in the chat room, Gen B over here cheering on DTR for the Browns. but yeah, Teran, I'll tell you, man, I think USC is going to be the heavy favorite. I mean, they look strong. They look good. I mean, once again, I'm biased, but 11-3 on the year last year. I mean, this team looked pretty damn solid, okay? And then lay out Washington, 11-2 last year. Once again, is Michael Penix. I mean, is this guy going to be a Heisman candidate this year? You know what I mean? Like, what do they got? Like, what's going on here? Can this team can they overtake, Oregon, 10-3 last year. Dude, this football team has been coming around. They really have, And it's crazy, Bo Nix, this team has a lot of promise. I mean, once again, Pac-12, probably for the last time, unfortunately, should be fun. You talked about Cam Rising, and hey, is he going to be benched? I mean, what's going on? He unfortunately was injured last year. I mean, just lots of crap.
Oh, he was injured. My bad.
Yeah, no, you're good. He was injured. I don't want to cut you off or anything, man. But yeah, he was injured, unfortunately, and just rough go though, for him. But 10-4 last year, Utah. I mean, just what a year, to end off the Pac-12. If this is how it's really going to end. So yeah, I'm still going all day, man, with the Trojans, and I expect them to go into the Big 12 to the Big 10 and make a freaking splash. But yeah, this is it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun to see these guys get out there and ball, and let's see what happens. So all right, Teran, so we're going to move it forward here. Might as well just go into the Big 10, right? I mean, my goodness, there we go. But Teran, last year, man, the Big Ten, Ohio State, I mean, this team looks to be the cream of the crop along with Michigan. I mean, it's just these two teams have been near and around the top for the last couple of years of the Big Ten. I mean, just two great football programs. Michigan, of course, getting it done, man. I mean, 13-1 last year. I mean, it's crazy, man. The Michigan was so close to a national championship. They fell short, couldn't get it done. Regardless, though, Teran, there's so much to be excited for. They really, really, really do. You got Blake Corum back there, as well as Donovan Edwards. I mean, J.J. McCarthy. I mean, this team Michigan still looks pretty damn good, man. They're pretty potent. Ohio State, I'll never forget hearing you one time on the show talking about how Ohio State doesn't they don't recruit, they reload, man. I mean, this team is or something like that. This team is so freaking talented, and we talk about a team full of just monsters. Ryan Day has done amazing. He really has. I mean, you talk about an Ohio State football team, dude. I mean, where do we start? Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, come on, bro. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, this is a good football team, man. They have lots and lots of talent. I think McCord, right, is over there, and Devin Brown, if I'm not mistaken. They're going to be probably fighting for the new position there. So I mean, at quarterback. So just very, very, very solid rosters here. Penn State, another really good football team. 11-2 last year, not the best, but regardless, Penn State still has lots and lots of talent. Anybody I could think of here? I don't know. I know they got some monsters over there. That guy Abdul Carter, really, really, really solid. But and then after that, it's not like I don't see anybody else doing good. But I think those three are the fair teams to talk about near the top there. But Teran, what do you think, man? Big Ten this year. What do you got?
So for the Big Ten, my few questions are: who's the best team in the Big Ten West? Like, I understand there are two teams ranked in Iowa and Wisconsin, but when you look at the Big Ten East, those teams don't really hold a candle to the Big Ten East. Like, you've got Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State in that echelon. Is that really fair? Like, I'm just baffled at that. My second question is, what will Ohio State and Michigan do following, or what will Ohio State do following the graduation, or basically the moving on of C.J. Stroud? C.J. Stroud was phenomenal in basically the FBS semifinals against Georgia, nearly leading them to a win, as C.J. Stroud was, you can't say enough good about him, and I think he's going to be NFL ready, but you just can't replace him overnight. My third question is, can Penn State actually keep up with the likes of Michigan and Ohio State? That's going to depend, and here's my thing. If they can get one upset, then it's all going to depend on what happens with the team that got upset against the other team. I mean, if Penn State can beat Ohio State and Michigan, then bully for them, and we could be seeing them possibly, hence the word possibly, making their way into the college football championship.
Wouldn't that be
my
something?
Fourth question is, yes. And then my fourth question is, who's going to have the best defense in the conference? Now, this is a tricky one just because it's the best defense was not the likes of Michigan or Ohio State. It was actually Wisconsin and Minnesota. When you look at it that way, that's kind of pretty interesting if you ask me. Now, obviously, Wisconsin and Minnesota and differ from opponents unlike Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State. But if they can actually have that kind of defense, then they kind of have my respect. Even though, again, they're playing in the Big Ten West and not the Big Ten East. But it is what it is sometimes. And then my fifth question is, what will be the likes of teams like Purdue, Illinois, Nebraska, and dare I say it, Northwestern? And let's not forget Indiana and Maryland and Michigan State and Rutgers. Like, those teams are kind of in limbo in terms of like not being ranked. So will they be able to make a name for themselves? Will they be able to basically become bowl game eligible? And I guess one extra question would be, can Northwestern actually overcome the turmoil? I think we could all agree and say no.
Teran, way to sum that up, brother. You're doing great here with these sum ups. But dude, what the crap, right? I mean, you look at this Big Ten and go, okay, I think it's hilarious when everyone wants to talk the crap, talk about, the Pac-12 is falling apart, the Pac-12 is falling apart, there ain't nobody over there. Teran, who the hell's in the Big Ten? You know what I mean? Like, okay, you get Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State that are worth a crap. Are you serious? You're going to sit here and tell me that, oh, Big Ten football. Oh, really? Really? Because it's kind of like the Pac-12. You got USC, Oregon, Washington, Utah that are basically good. It's like the Premier League in soccer, Teran. I'm sorry, and I went there, you know what I mean? Okay, maybe not, because there actually is a solid handful of teams. But, Teran, who the hell is going to win Ligue 1 every year in France? PSG is going to win by December. Am I right, Teran? The season's over by December because PSG has 150 points already. You know what I mean? Who's going to win in Formula 1, Teran? Freaking Max Verstappen is going to win 75 races in the first 5 races. I don't know how the hell he does that, but you know what I mean? And it's over. The season's pointless to watch. So it's like, don't come at the Pac-12 Big Ten people. Like, come now. Like, you don't have that many great teams, all right? Like, wow, man, Wisconsin's a front runner, Teran. Man, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, come on, brother. Like, seriously, you're going to sit here and tell me Illinois? Yeah? That's good football. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. It's great football. We love it. We cover it. But what I'm saying is like, the Pac-12 fell apart because of some stupid crap. You're going to tell me the rest of the league? Seriously? I mean, it's just like, wow, okay. Like, you know, but anyway, man, when it comes to the Big Ten, you know, we already know who's who. So the Big Ten just got better because now instead of like a 3-horse race, it's going to be like a 7-horse race in the Big Ten, which is going to be really cool to see, which, you know, we're getting closer to that super conference type deal. But Jen B in the chat room says here, Brian Hartline is the best wide receiver coach ever. He just keeps churning out stars. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, man. Big stuff there. And let's see here. Brilliant Allen, though. Yeah, I mean, seriously, man. I mean, this is a good look. Not dissing the Big Ten at all, but what I'm saying is you know, there's only a few teams that are actually going to compete. You know, so what the Pac-12 teams are doing by moving over there, they're just making it way more competitive by adding like 4 more teams to the 3 teams that are actually relevant in the Big Ten. Sounds like fun. You know what I mean? So, all right, Teran, on to the Big 12, you know, which probably won't exist by the end of next year. You know, we'll see. But Texas, 8-5 last year. They just never got it going, Teran. You and I were not really clowning on Texas, but there was just this weird, I don't know, man. Texas is weird. Texas is weird. It's really weird, you know, like this team goes up and down here and there, but you know, they were okay. Went 6-3 in the Big 12. Okay, cool. Oklahoma, Teran, they fell off completely, man. 6-7. I mean, 3-6 overall in the Big 12. It was just kind of a, you know, black. And then you get Kansas State coming out of nowhere, 10-4, 7-2 in the Big 12 last year. Looking really, really, really good. And then what? Texas Tech, I believe. You know what I mean? So, I mean, taking a look at some of these players, I mean, let's go back to Texas. Texas right now, you know, you got some solid players. You know, Quinn Ewers, this dude is, you know, he's pretty solid. You know, is he gonna make it happen this year and make this team gonna be a championship team? We don't know, but solid. You know. A solid player there. We have, my gosh, I don't even know who's Oklahoma right now, man. I can't even think about who's Oklahoma. My apologies, guys. I know they have some really, really good defense there, some pretty solid defense, but at the end of the day, there's not much there to kind of to go off of. Kansas State, though, this team, hey, they had that guy Will Howard, and I believe, I can't think of anybody else really. Man, what's his name? Who just left? Right? He just left to the NFL. Deuce Vaughn, right? I believe. Like, I mean, you know, some solid play. I think he went to the NFL, but you know, there are some solid players there. But when it comes to the Big 12, Teran, I mean, we talk. You know, TCU, they were in the national championship game, got eaten alive by the Bulldogs. 13-3 last year, 9-0 in the Big 12. Really cool. And you know, there's going to be a lot coming back from this team. Lots of really good talent, but I mean, dude, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, when it comes to the Big 12, I mean, TCU could come out and just do it again. But Darren, I don't know. It's just like a division. It's a conference that's like, okay, there's there's some teams, Teran, and there's some players on those teams. I mean, right? I mean, it's just so vanilla. Like, it's like I told you, I think the Big 12 is going to be falling apart very soon, like the Pac-12 has suffered that same fate. So what do you think, Teran, about the Big 12 this year?
So my questions for the Big 12 is, how will BYU do in an actual conference? I know you will also have Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF, but they were in conferences unlike BYU. BYU played independent. Now BYU gets to finally be in a conference, and they get to finally play an organized schedule where they're not just randomly scheduling opponents here, there, and everywhere. So now for BYU, they basically get to be in a conference, in a Power 5 conference for that matter, and they get to finally see what it's like to play in a conference. My second question is, can TCU repeat its success from last season? That still remains to be seen, considering they did lose quite a bit. Obviously, they lost Max Dugan from last year, and they lost a bit of their receiving core, like Quentin Johnston and Darius Davis. But I think they can. I feel that the Big 12 can be up for grabs. But again, you also have the likes of Kansas State, Texas, Oklahoma on the rise. So it's not guaranteed for TCU to basically have success. My third question is, can Kansas repeat the success from last year? As we all know, Kansas had a phenomenal season last year, which I don't know how to explain this, but I think they were bowl game eligible, and they won they actually won more than one Big 12 conference game, which they're not just a basketball school anymore, ladies and gentlemen. They're actually a football school. So that's kind of my boiling question for Kansas. My fourth question is Oklahoma still under the hangover of the Lincoln Riley hangover? Obviously, losing Lincoln Riley to SC sucks for them, but at what point do you have to finally move on from that? At what point do you have to say, okay, Lincoln Riley's gone. We have to basically move on with our new head coach and basically just move on with our players and just forget about Lincoln Riley and how he just left for SC. So that's my thing. At what point do you basically just say Lincoln Riley is gone and he's never coming back? And then my final question for the Big 12, and this is an obvious question, is Texas really back? Can they finally live up to the hype? It seems like Texas is always ranked, and then they always find a way to basically just go down the toilet, losing to an opponent that they should beat, but they don't seem to beat. So I don't know. I feel that Texas being ranked 11th in the first coaches poll is interesting to say the least, but I'll only believe it when I see it. So I'm watching you, Steve Sarkisian. Oh, and fun fact, Steve Sarkisian actually brought in his son. I think his name is Brady. Brady Sarkisian, who actually played in my neck of the woods, Corona Del Mar, in at Texas as well, which I think is pretty cool. So I really want to see Texas succeed, but at the same time, this has been a revolving cycle every single year. Get ranked high, have expectations, downzo. But we'll see what happens this year.
No, really good stuff there, Teran. And yeah, man, I mean, thinking about that Big 12, is Texas for real, And you're right. When is Oklahoma going to just come back and be Oklahoma again? You're totally right. So moving into the ACC, Teran, I mean, is it safe to say Clemson is going to do it all again? I mean, last year 11-3, 9-0 on the ACC. They've been crapping on that conference for a very long time. I mean, sorry but not sorry. This team has just been all over it. Florida State played okay last year. Hey, 10-3, 5-3 overall in the ACC. Good stuff there. But what will they be able to do this year? We look at Clemson and just take a look at this team, man. I mean, my gosh, just continually. This kid, Cade, what's his name, Teran? Cade something. The kid is freaking solid, man. So he's gonna get it going. Let me look him up. Cade Klubnik, I believe is his name. I mean,
yeah, Cade Klubnik.
Yeah, I mean, Teran, this football team, man, they're coming. They're coming. This team is gonna be. how they've been over the years. They're a solid football team, man. They got lots of talent on here. There's every reason to believe they're going to come back and do it again. Florida State, hey, you know what? Good for these guys. Jordan Travis, I know that quarterback name. This dude's pretty good, man. This team is going to really have a really. I mean, look at this. This is that guy Keon Coleman, I believe, is now there. You know, you have a really solid team, okay? North Carolina last year, I mean, just they were cool. They were fun to watch. They weren't going to do anything. 9-5, I think, and 6-2 overall. By the way, getting all my stuff here off of Yahoo Sports. But, you know, guys, I just got to say, I mean, it's the ACC. Just another thing that I don't know. Is it going to exist coming up? You know, Miami hasn't been Miami in several years. Pittsburgh produces a solid player every now and then, you know, just kind of saying, you know, Kenny Pickett, let's see what he does, you know. There's a guy that you know all too well over there in LA, Teran, by the name of the big giant monster over there in the 3-point stance in a Rams uniform, Teran, you know. I think we all know who that monster is that Pittsburgh produced by the name of Aaron Donald. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you know, just they have produced some talent there. It's just, I mean, is this team going to win anything? You know, Wake Forest last year surprised us, even with an 8-5 record. Yeah. But overall, Teran, I guess, you know, the ACC, cool. You know, it's kind of like the Big Ten right now. I guess, you know, few teams really walked out for, and everybody else is kind of like, all right, whatever. You guys are here, I guess. You guys came to the party, look pretty, you know, but we already know who's going to be the front runners, and we already know it's going to come down to, like, you know, these few teams here at the top. So, Teran, what you got for the ACC?
So my 5 burning questions for the ACC are, is Florida State the real deal? And should we be hyped over them? I think we should be. Mike Norville is doing wonders for that program, and I'm not going to say they're going to be back when they had Jameis Winston, when they were just straight up phenomenal and when they won the national championship. But I will say Florida State fans have every reason to be excited about the Noles this season in terms of college football. And I think that matchup against LSU is going to have them salivating. So definitely buy stock into Florida State whenever you can. And then my second question is, can Clemson reestablish themselves as the juggernaut of the ACC? As you kind of mentioned, you were mentioning all those players, and I think it's doable for Clemson. Dabo Swinney, obviously, still being the head coach. He is a mastermind. And obviously, Clemson kind of needed a little bit of a wake-up call after being on its high horse and riding the coattails of Trevor Lawrence and his success. Now Clemson's kind of picking up the pieces, and they're going to have to groom their new big-time quarterback, just like they did with Trevor Lawrence. So we'll see what happens with Clemson. The third question is, can UNC actually live up to the hype? Okay, now hear me out here. UNC has arguably the best quarterback in Drake May. Now, is it the best quarterback in the nation? Possibly, but I think Caleb Williams is better. But can North Carolina actually do something with him, or will they just be a wolf in sheep's clothing? That still remains to be my question. The fourth question is, will the U be back this year? I can't be certain on that, just because every time we think the U is back, they're not back. But I feel it's going to be a work in progress for Miami, but time will tell. And then my fifth question is, will the ACC be able to snag Stanford and Cal from the Pac-12? There have been rumors saying that Stanford and Cal were reached out by the ACC to possibly expand on the ACC. So it just goes to show that the Pac-12 is really starting to become more and more endangered by the day, as they're losing their teams left and right. And soon it's just only going to be Oregon State and Washington State. I mean, we've lost a majority of our rivalries. The only rivalry that remains is Cal and Cal and Stanford.
Teran, it's crazy because you hit it on the head, man. I mean, once again, the Pac-12 is in shambles, but take a look at the ACC. I mean, it's true. Once again, man. I mean, the U is just a shell. I mean, that's it. There's nothing there. There's nothing excited. There's nothing to get excited for, brother. You know what I mean? Like the ACC, like we already know, Clemson's gonna run the house here. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Once again, can we just have super conferences already? I mean, you take a look at it. But anyway, into the actual super conference, who actually has, more competition than the rest, the SEC. Teran, can we just end the show and say Georgia is going to probably do it again because they keep on bringing on extremely good talent. I mean, is there any other thing to say for this, for anything? Last year, just undefeated season, 15-0, 8-0 in the SEC. I mean, my gosh, the talent this team has is unreal. There is just so much to be excited about with what this team is doing. Kirby Smart just doing an amazing job. Talk about smart. This guy's freaking smart. All right. Nick Saban at Alabama. Let's see what he does this year. Is he ever gonna call it a career? Is he gonna stay on it and keep on doing his thing? I don't know. But what I do know, Teran, is that they're damn good. Alabama has, every chance to do this again this year. Or I'm sorry, to come back and overthrow Georgia if everything lines up their way. But is it doable? I seriously think Georgia's is going to do it again. But regardless, there you go. LSU, another extremely solid program. 10-4 last year, 6-2 in the SEC. How about this? How about this football team? Can this be their year? Can they get it done? I know they got a guy, Harold Perkins, who's extremely solid. Coming up. I mean, they have a really good foundation here. And then Tennessee, last year, 11-2. I know a lot of crap happened with them and everything this last offseason, but how are they going to look? And then after that, Darren, Texas A&M, Ole Miss? I mean, you know what I mean? Just teams that it's kind of like, okay, and there's that big gap, and there it is. Realistically, who knows what Tennessee's going to look like this year? But we know damn sure it's going to be Georgia, Alabama, and good old LSU somewhere near the top. So Jen B says here in the chat room, is this the end of Nick Saban? I think Nick Saban's going to be just like Belichick. They're going to call it. They're going to call it when it's not on anybody else's time but theirs. So they're both solid. They're both legendary coaches, and when they decide to call it, they will. But no, Saban can go another however many years he wants to, and the juggernaut that is Alabama is going to stick around. So, I don't know, Teran. I mean, what do you think, man? SEC, give us your burning questions.
So my 5 burning questions, and we have to address the elephant in the room, starting with number 1. Who's going to lead Georgia this year at quarterback? So the gruesome fivesome are all underclassmen. You've got Carson Beck, a junior, Colin Drake, a sophomore, Jackson Muschamp, a junior, Gunnar Stockton, a freshman, and Brock Vandegrift, a sophomore. Who is going to be the lucky one that succeeds Stetson Bennett? That's going to be the burning question right there. And honestly, whoever does has a lot of shoes to fulfill in terms of Bennett, just because what Bennett did was amazing and phenomenal. My second question is, how will Alabama do offensively following Bryce Young's departure and the departure of Bill O'Brien? Everyone says, well, Bryce Young is now off to the NFL. What about Bill O'Brien? We all forgot that Bill O'Brien departed from Alabama's coaching staff and is back with the New England Patriots with said Bill Belichick. So Alabama is going to have to find a new gear in its new offense under whichever quarterback it decides to start. My third burning question is, will LSU be able to challenge the likes of Alabama and some of the other superpowers in the SEC? I think it's doable. I think LSU is picking up the pieces from the post-Joe Burrow era, and I really think LSU is going to be something to watch for, and I'm excited for them. I really want them to do good just because they did make it to the SEC championship last year, where they obviously fell short. But hey, I think LSU is making themselves a name for themselves, and they proved that they could handle the giant dragon in Alabama. So I really am excited to see what LSU can bring to the table. My fourth question is, what will Tennessee look like following it moving on from its quarterback? Oh, well, not moving on from its quarterback, but without its quarterback. So I forget the name of its quarterback that got drafted by the Detroit Lions, but obviously they now have a new quarterback in its system. It's either going to be Nico Iamaleava, who actually played in California. I think he played at like Long Beach Millikan, or it's either going to be Joe Milton, Gaston Moore, or Navy Schuler at the quarterback position. So I imagine Tennessee is going to be going with experience with Joe Milton or Moore or Schuler. If they actually start Nico Iamaleava, if I mispronounced that, I'm sorry, then color me surprised. But Tennessee's got a lot of questions to answer following their quarterback carousel or their quarterback questions. My fourth question is, are we going to take Texas A&M for real? This always seems to happen. Texas A&M is ranked. They're kind of like Texas. They're ranked. They've got good expectations. Jimbo Fisher's got a good high-powered offense. He says something to stir the pot, and then they go downhill. Last year was kind of the case where Texas A&M coach Jimbo Fisher said something about Alabama, and then Alabama kind of took him and whooped. I wouldn't say whooped him, but they basically beat him. Are we going to actually buy into the hype of Texas A&M this year? So tough to tell, but I don't think they could challenge Alabama or LSU. And do we really need to go into Ole Miss? I don't know. And then my last question is, are we also going to buy into the hype of Florida? Some people are saying Florida can actually overtake Georgia, and a few of my friends are saying Florida can go undefeated this year in the regular season, which, okay. Florida going undefeated in the regular season. With which quarterback? Parker Lace, Micah Leon, Graham Mertz, or Max Brown? Okay. I mean, I don't doubt it, but Florida is good, but do I think they can go undefeated? No. So I feel we shouldn't really overhype the Gators that much. I mean, there'll be a bowl team, yes, but please do not put the words of undefeated or anything of that sort into our mouths. I just don't think Florida can hang with the likes of Georgia, especially with Georgia having that stout defense.
Teran, you hit it on the head, man. Yeah, Florida. I'm so glad I'm muted during you talking because oh my gosh, are you serious? Like, Florida going undefeated. Hey, it could happen, I guess, right? But whoa,
one can hope.
Yeah, one can hope, I guess, right? But yeah, man. I mean, let's be real, man. Georgia. I know they got to fill in their blank at quarterback, but dude, they're stacked. They got everything. I mean, half of their roster went to the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm just saying, this team is just so good. Kirby Smart's amazing. This guy's doing great things over there. Last year, I don't want to see this ever again. I mean, good for Georgia, but freaking 65-7. Come on, man. That's a national championship, 65-7. They must have been watching freaking the 3C2A and the dang NJCAA this year with those shutout freaking blowout victories with San Mateo over RCC. Still makes me mad. And freaking Iowa Western over Hutchinson. I mean, just nasty, horrible blowout victories in a national championship game. You're like, why? Like, that's terrible. Like, we deserve a better football game. So, yeah, I mean, last year, the Bulldogs just destroyed TCU 65-7, and Georgia wins their fourth national championship in program history and their second back-to-back. I mean, I guess the big question is well, Teran, here we go again. USC almost did it, but a guy by the name of Vince Young didn't allow it. I mean, the three-peat. What do you think, Teran? Is Georgia the most realistic to ever do this? Will they fall short? Will they actually be the first team to win the 3P? I mean, what do you think?
I definitely think it's doable for Georgia. I think they can three-peat. I will say this, it will be tough to do so, but if Georgia's going to three-peat, they're going to have to ride the coattails of their defense. I don't know if they have the offense to put up points, but their defense is going to eventually pave the way for the offense.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, Georgia, look, they're a solid team, solid program. We know what they're capable of doing. Is this the year that it finally happens? Possibly. But overall, Teran, yeah, man. So there we are, Power 5 conferences. Really great stuff there. Great burning questions, man. And I just, wonderful, man. I mean, you did it way better than I did, and I love it, man. I'll tell you right now, the SEC, I don't want to say it's up for grabs just yet. We know that there's going to be 3 teams for damn sure. They're going to be in the mix. And, we're going to see who does what, though, this year, man. I'm excited to go and enjoy some college football. Still angry at the fact that, we don't have that great of a playoff system and everything. But, hey, hopefully, time will tell. Hopefully things work out. Maybe we can do away with the freaking bowl games and just have a really good tournament at the end that proves, hey, this team deserves to be here. Or these teams deserve to be here, and we'll see. But other than that, Teran, really good stuff today, man. And I know started a little bit later today. My apologies, really. But next week, you guys, this time, we are going to have college football. I know some of it's cupcake games and all that fun stuff. Who gives a crap? It's college football. It's back. FCS is back. It's all back next week. Well, for the majority of it. D3, I think, starts in a few weeks. NAIA coming up. I think got to look at that. But overall, Teran, great stuff, brother. Awesome stuff as always, man. And, we're almost up out of here. But before we are, let those people know, man, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Teran Rodriguez 1. That's where you can find my main content and where I basically kind of post my main stuff.
As always, man. So we're going to get that music going on because we are up out of here for the day, man. Teran, it's always an honor, brother. Glad to have you on. Thanks for dealing with my nonsense this morning. Just lots of stuff going on. Thanks for being able to push the show back an hour, a little bit over that. But it's been fun. Next week, man, it's for real. The previews are in the books, and let's see how what we think. Will it prevail? We'll see. But who's gonna do what this year? Who's getting going? Who's gonna fall off? Besides the Pac-12, who's actually going to do really well? We don't know, but we're going to enjoy it, and we're going to be here every single week reporting the ride, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. High school football, that was awesome. We got so many more great matchups coming up. We definitely are excited for that. I think this coming weekend, Teran, or this week, if I'm not mistaken, we do have Orange Lutheran taking on De La Salle. SoCal versus NorCal there. Bishop Gorman heads on over to Long Beach to take on the historic Long Beach Poly. Rockledge, Florida comes on over to Texas. We'll head on over to Texas to take on the defending state champions, Duncanville. I think lots of great games coming up next Friday in high school football. Show us some love, y'all. Give us a follow at IE Sports Radio all over the place, all over social media. You can follow the show at 3 and Out CE or 3 and Out IECE. Always great stuff there, and we're so excited and thankful to be here. As I always say, big ups to the man above. Without him, nothing is possible. Of course, big ups to all of you guys out there. We appreciate you all for tuning in and being a part of the show. Next week, we're really going to pick it up. We're going to have ourselves some fun, getting more into high school football, getting right on into kickoff. We're going to lead up to kickoff next week, and we're going to have some fun. We appreciate you guys so very much. IESportsRadio.com. Pick up a shirt, wine glass. We got wine glasses now, y'all. We got cozies. Teran won one last night on Sports Cup Perspectives. Check us out, IESportsRadio.com. Check us out all over the place. Show us some love. PlanetJerky.net. Show us some love to our sponsors. Get some jerky. Enjoy some IE Sports Radio. That's just how we do it. That's what we do. Next week is for real. We will see y'all for the kickoff of college football. Or Teran from me, your boy Larry B. We'll see you next week. Until then, take care. And as always, God bless.